Hey, the Golden State Valkyries. Cool name, cool story, even better story. They are the newest WNBA team and they're in the playoffs right this second. But I wanted to refresh my mind of like the historic season. Like they made the playoffs in the very first year as a team, and that's only been done 0 times before in the WNBA. Let's talk about it. So, before the Golden State Valkyries, and I hate to say this, I hate to be honest. Actually, I like to be honest, but I hate to be doubting their capabilities. But the Golden State Valkyries, currently in a playoff series against the Minnesota Lynx, and out of bad luck, the Minnesota Lynx are pretty much the favorites to win the title in the WNBA. So, one would suggest that the Valkyries' historic and terrific season as their first year in the league will come to an end soon. So, I wanted to give them their flowers before they do that, before their season ends. One, awesome that they got here, and that's a big part of the story. But I know, I know the Valkyries story pretty well, like decently well, not super well, but from an outside perspective, I kind of know it. But I wanted to pretty much tell ChatGPT to give me a list of the most interesting and the most talkable points about the Valkyries, where they came from, what the historic season actually involved, and just some points along the way. And then I'm going to react to it. I thought that was kind of like a more interesting way for me, and hopefully for you, of doing it. Rather than me making points, I'm going to get them to give me headings, and I'm just going to react off it. Sound good? I think it sounds good. So that's how I'm going to do it. Let's get stuck into it. As simple as that. They're the first expansion team since 2008 in the WNBA, which I found quite interesting. So the Atlanta Dream joined in 2008. No team has joined in 2008. I hate doing maths on there because it makes me look stupid. What's that? 17 years? I think that's right. Quite a long time. So you'd expect, I don't know, is that how long it's going to take for the next team? No, they've already announced like Cleveland and other teams, Portland and stuff. So that's a stupid comment, but pretty interesting. This is where it gets even more interesting. The expansion draft literally works like you would in 2K. I was pretty obsessed with NBA 2K back in the day, and you made an expansion team. Guess what would happen? You select all the options, and then the existing teams, say there was a roster of 12 or whatever, they could protect like 8 players. They could protect 10 players. And then, as an expansion team coming into the league, you could be like, hey, I choose whoever I want out of those 4 or 2 players from every single team that are unprotected. And, if my knowledge is correct, that's exactly what happened in December 2024, as they participated in the WNBA's first expansion draft in many years, selecting players from unprotected lists, and also built through free agency and the draft as well. So obviously they get draft picks. I'm not sure how exactly it works in terms of, how high their draft pick was. They got Kate Martin, unless she was the year before. Don't mind me. I'm actually going to look through the roster later because it's interesting to look at the big names. And, spoiler alert, there is not many, which speaks to their success as a team and their chemistry and all that stuff as well. But what I was saying was their roster was literally built from those unprotected players, free agency, and then the draft. Just interesting that it's quite the same as 2K. It's fascinating. And if you did that back in the day, you would realize how hard it is to win. But win, the Valkyries have done, unlike many of us in 2K. So it's obviously very different. This is real life. This is real life personalities, players. Here I am, actually comparing it to digital players and being like, hey, this is tough. But they had to do it in real life with personalities, families, money, everything. They had to do it and try to form a winning team, which is what they did, which leads me nicely to the regular season. They ended in above a 0.5 record, which is awesome. You would think, as I just mentioned with the 2K example, but put gaming aside, you would think it would be very hard to do that. And it is very hard to do that. To walk into a league with politely, the bottom players, and to walk out of the league with a 0.5 record. Walk out of that season with a 0.5 record and to play in the playoffs. Awesome. Record of 23 and 20. That's interesting. How about this for a thing? They ended the regular season with a record of 23-20, in brackets, or 23-21 depending on a source. It's interesting. But anyway, they're still a winning percentage, and that's what they did. They walked into the playoffs, and awesome, pretty cool. Just from outside, um, obviously a historic feat to get to the playoffs. It was their first playoff berth. Fancy that. But they became the first expansion team in history of the WNBA to make the playoffs in the inaugural season. Secured the 8th seed in the Western Conference. Really cool stuff. And actually, now's probably a good time to look at their roster. Because, as I mentioned before, I'm pretty into the WNBA. But I'm not like an expert. I'm not crazy knowledgeable yet. I hope to be one day because I'm enjoying it more and more. But look at this list of names. Even for me, I don't know a lot of these names, but from the casual fan, I doubt they would know a single player on this roster, with all due respect. It just means that their profiles aren't as big as they probably will be in the future. Actually, will definitely be in the future. And it's me giving them more pats on the back. Carla Lite, Caitlin Shen, I've heard of her, largely, I assume, because she played with Paige Beckers. Hopefully not a knock on her, but it's probably the truth. Letitia Amaher, pronunciation probably off, but she played in the WNBL down here in Australia, so I know her. Kayla Thornton, people might know her. She was probably the Valkyries' best second place player, third best up there. She played in the WNBL as well. Kayla Charles, not sure. Alana Rupert has a connection back to the NBL with her brother, I believe. You will see where I'm going with this. That's the only way I know some of these. Janelle Salon, is she sister of Charlotte's Salon? Charlotte Hornets. Who knows? Temi Fabellini, sorry about that. I did not pronounce that right. Tiffany Hayes, I've heard of her. Kate Martin, we know her. Again, played with Caitlin Clark in college. Veronica Burton, more on her later. Cecilia Zandaselli, not sure. Monique Billings, I know her as well. Few there, but let me just say, not a really big name on that roster. Which I'm not doing that to try to shade him. I'm saying that, and I keep stating that to give him more pats on the back. You aren't big names, but you've come together as a team, and you've done that. You've got a .500 record, and you're in the playoffs. I reckon that's awesome. I really do. Where was I? Veronica Burton, recently just named the WNBA Most Improved Player for this year, which is cool. They obviously have the team achievement in making the playoffs, first ever WNBA expansion team to do that in their first season, and then they have some individual awards. Love it. Veronica Burton also played in the WNBL, I'm pretty sure. Australia, it's pretty cool, just a side tangent. It's pretty cool that the Australian season and the American season coincide, if that's the right word. That means the Americans and anyone playing in the WNBA can come down to Australia, lovely Australia, and play in the WNBL league, which is the Australian league down here, and it's growing. It's getting really good. I just find that cool because no other league really has that, like in terms of our Australian leagues, that you can do both. NBL players can sort of go on the back end of WNBA. That doesn't work. NBL players can go on the back end of NBA seasons, or they can just go over and stay there. But you can't really do a full season of both, which I think that's really cool about the women's game. Veronica Burton, cool. Attendance and fan support. All 22 home games in 2025 were sold out at the Chase Center. Awesome. That's really cool. From day dot, you enter the league as an expansion team and you have these loyal fans that follow you everywhere, that show up every single game, quite literally, and set new records. They set new records, new league records for average attendance. Damn, really? You're telling me a first year team set the league records for the most average attendant, like the average attendance in the league with 18K per game. That's very impressive. See, this is why I wanted to do this, because I read it for the first time and then I react for the first time. So this is authentic, as much as it is good scripting, not scripting as in like putting dot points, but you don't get that real reaction sometimes. I actually like that. Total home attendance was, call it 400K for the season. That's awesome. Now, to cap it off, I just think this story is really cool. And once again, they're most likely not going to win the championship. But that doesn't mean that this season hasn't been a massive success for them. So to go over some notable firsts and records, thanks to ChatGPT, they're the first ever WNBA expansion team in the playoffs to make the playoffs in its first season. That's cool. Highest average attendance in a debut season with all home games sold out. Awesome stuff. It really is. We talk about it. This is a real sort of Australia-centric podcast because we talk about it with an NBL team down here, the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. They, from the moment they started playing, sold out games, made the playoffs, won a championship in year 2. Will the Golden State Valkyries do that? I don't know, but they're damn sure on their way. I don't know how that's going to work, but they're on their way. Great segment. The ownership has publicly stated that they actually aim to win a championship within the first 5 years of existence, which I did not know, and I think that's great to put out there. Put some pressure on it. Speak it into existence. Look up to the Tasmania Jack Jumpers and do exactly what they did. I think that's really awesome. Thanks. Last little thing. If the momentum holds in fan support, player development, recruiting, drafting, they may be able to build a competitive core quickly. I would argue that they have already built a competitive core if they're doing what they have done that I just covered in season 1. Cool. I really like it. I wanted to dive into them a bit more. I wanted to give them their flowers because, as I said, they're playing the Minnesota Lynx, who they were 34-10 on the season. Valkyries were 23-21, says ESPN. So let's go with that one as opposed to the 23-20, which is kind of weird that they said that. What, did they just not qualify for a game? Did they just not finish that game? I don't know. Give them their flowers. Cool season. Awesome season. Called a success. You know how team seasons end and you're probably just like, yeah, okay, we didn't get where we wanted to go. I'm sure, and I hope, that the players and staff, and even the fans, call that season like an absolute success regardless. Like, it doesn't matter that you didn't win a championship. It doesn't matter that you might not win a game against the Minnesota Lynx in the playoffs. It does not matter. To me, that should all just be a bonus. And I know sport clubs and athletes view it differently. Like, their high-performance mindset does not think that way. They probably don't think, hey, this is a bonus that we're in the playoffs of year 1. But I hope they have a second to reflect after it does come to an end and be like, hey, this was a massive success. We're set up for the future really well. And if anyone was to start a WNBA franchise tomorrow, like the Cleveland and the Portlands coming into the league, if they could do what the Valkyries have done and are doing right now with the roster they constructed and the fans that they've built and the crowd attendance and all that, if they could do exactly what they have done, they would be laughing. They would be over the moon, I'm sure. So hats off to you, Golden State Valkyries. And to finish it off, what the hell is a Valkyrie? What's a Valkyrie? Is it a bird? Valkyrie. Oh. This is a good little tidbit. In Norse mythology, a Valkyrie, a Valkyrie is one of a host of female figures who guide souls of the dead to the god Odin's Hall Valhalla. Yeah, look, I was hoping for more of a good definition that we can understand. It's really interesting. It's like all this medieval stuff to do with like orcs and wings and... Anyway, that was... I expected a Valkyrie to be something quite more common. Anyway, Golden State Valkyries. Get around them. I'm getting around them more. Their profiles build. Their team's building. Who cares if they don't win a game against Minnesota? You've made a fan out of me.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate it. My whole aim here is to build a community of people that have discussions in basketball. And that sounds super simple, but that's what I want. So a big part of that is you getting involved. So it's cliche to say on a podcast and a YouTube setting, but drop a comment, share it with a friend. Say, hey, what do you think of this? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you have an alternative opinion? Literally just do that because I want discussion. Thanks again.